Brown. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to 2 Cents Sports and Entertainment. You may not be listening right now, but I hope you are. It was a last minute show put together. And I am your host, as always, Scuba. There I am. We have a new call-in phone number. Joining me today also is the Gingerbread Man.
What's up, everybody?
Also commonly referred to as the Gingerbread Man, a.k.a. Tomato Slinger. Anyhow, we are doing the show today. Given this week's, quote, controversy, which quite honestly, I'm sorry. And yes, you can call me biased or what have you. One thing I try to do is to be neutral in the stuff that I talk about with this show. I do show my loyalties and so forth like that, but I do have the ability to be unbiased. Trust me. This controversy is really much ado about nothing.
It's more of a court of a public opinion kind of a thing these days.
It is, and I don't even know where to begin with this. I mean, we got there'll be some other stuff I can talk about today too, but this is really why I wanted to come on air this week. Noticeably missing in the show is, of course, our producer, Mr. Zach Cooper, the coach. He's on the road today. He is doing his charity work with the Best Buddies program, helping out. Acting like it's like similar to Big Brothers and helping out underprivileged children. So I definitely commend him for that. Just so you know, also before we get into everything, if you are listening, we will be having our Super Bowl show next week. Trying to line up some guests. We're going to try to even get former NFL quarterback and possibly another quarterback on our show next week to talk about this further, if it so calls for it. I'm hoping that it won't call for it, but we probably will have them on anyway. Also next week, also trying to line up another special guest. And I'll have to, I want to kind of hold it for a surprise, but let's just say there's a big internet meme and internet videos, and a certain Florida State quarterback got in trouble for saying it. So we're going to try to line up, all right, well, cat's out of the bag. Going to try to line up Fred Ferguson or his cohort, which are the guys that are responsible for getting that whole thing started, kind of get their take on why they started it, how it came to be, and why the big craze and everything like that. So that could be our special guest. Going to, again, working on it. No guarantees, but that's what we're going to shoot for next week. Also, as you can see on the screen, we do have a brand new call-in number. That call-in number does go via Skype. You do not have to have Skype to use it. But if you choose to use Skype, that's great. But you do not have to have it, but it will come through. That number is 813-435-1507 if you choose to chime in. We give you all the time as long as we can have a good discussion. We'll have you on as long as we need to have you get a point through. So we don't cut you off or anything like that unless it's just absolutely necessary. So with that being said, you can also go to our Facebook page, which is 2 Cents Sports and Entertainment, and give us a like if you haven't done so already. We're also monitoring the screen for anybody that wants to pop in and just shoot a chat through there. If you don't feel like getting on the air and just want to shoot a question or what have you, use our chat line. The coach isn't here, so we don't have a Twitter to use. I don't do Twitter. I'm never going to do Twitter, and so that's that. But anyway, that's another avenue to go. And just check us out, give us a like, spread the word, and that is that. So here's what I'm going to say. Now, I know, Chris, you got a lot to say. You and I were talking a little bit.
Well, we'll build
into
that,
it. I mean,
that particular avenue of what's going on this week.
I mean, this is. Look, this is. I'm going to say it right now. This has just been a subject blown far out of the range of anything reasonable. I mean, this honestly, there's been more lashback in this little episode than I think even Ray Rice, Ray Rice episode or incident, I don't even think got this much play. Or maybe it's just me, but
If you're talking about the whole Deflategate thing, it's like you gotta look at it this way. When it came from all the allegations prior to Spygate, with the Jet being videotaping the Jets walkthrough during that season, and you look at the claims the Carolina Panthers had prior to that, the St. Louis Rams had. So it was kind of building, and then during obviously the court of public opinion, that's where it's all getting blown out. And the way that the internet is now versus what it was, say, 10 years ago, everyone is just making a mountain out of a molehill about it. Now, if you break down the situation, does it look bad by perceptions and what, if you break down to the media garbage and this, that, and the other thing? Yes, it does look bad because the perceptions, like anything, perceptions to people are reality. But if you look at it, if you look at the coaches and the players and the personnel, could have somebody on the staff have possibly have done something like that? Sure, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, would the coaches and upper personnel over those people have knowledge of that? We don't know.
Right.
And by way the media is playing it out, it looks like Belichick just threw Brady under the bus with no qualms. But that's how, yet again, perception is reality. That's how it looks. And is it laughable? Sure, absolutely. Because honestly, if you have nothing going on to where the one thing that's making or breaking your day is 1 pound PSI difference in a football, yeah, you got to restructure your priorities.
Yeah. And
that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and just for the record, he is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So if anybody has
I don't think anyone intentionally did anything. I just think the whole situation is just laughable 9 ways to Sunday.
It really is, and it is being much ado about nothing. And this is just an opportunity for haters and such like that to pile on. Look, I do get it. Okay, I get it. All right. The 2007 illegally typing sideline defensive signals from the New York Jets. Let's think about that for a moment. The New York Jets. Okay.
That was week 1 of that season, by the way.
It was week 1.
So everyone was 0-0, 500 record.
Correct. But, you listen to people out there and you think that, the Patriots are caught, filming they filmed every single team. Now,
by the way, everybody, every team has done it throughout the years, so keep that in mind when you're listening to what we're discussing.
Yes, the rules changed just before all that happened, which is why it became a big deal. But regardless, the way it's been playing out this week is and honestly, I bet you there's a majority of people out there that are jumping on this too. Think about Spygate, probably think it was a situation where the Patriots were caught doing it to every team. And it just wasn't the case. They were caught doing it to one team. Now, can the assumption be made that they were probably doing it to other teams? Sure, it can. However, was there any proof that they did that? No, there was not.
It was all hearsay for the most part. A lot of the allegations after Spygate came up with the Panthers Super Bowl, the Rams Super Bowl, where, where the GM, who now is I believe is a radio host now, who was the GM of the Panthers at the time from the article I was reading. It's he was saying when we were down in Houston for that particular Super Bowl, people were saying that it was happening, but they had no proof. You can only prove what you know, or the other way around, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But because of the whole Spygate thing, obviously all these other allegations from years past came up.
Well, and this is why I really kind of wish Zach Coach was here today, because a lot of this stealing signals stuff came up about this time last year. He and I were getting into it a little bit because of after FSU's championship win over Auburn, one of FSU's claims is that in the first half, Auburn was stealing their offensive signals because Auburn's one of their coaches over there was actually on the FSU staff for a couple years prior to that.
That's why you change your hand signals when you change your coaching staff.
Exactly.
That's on the coaching staff for not being smart.
Right. And Damian Craig is the person I'm referring to, who obviously was
every team does it when they have personnel changes like that. They change all their signals up for the obvious reasons.
Well, right, and you know,
unbeknownst giving
right.
competitive
well,
edge.
But anyway, he and I got into it that, you know, stealing signals or knowing signals and stuff like that doesn't help you, and you know, I was on the side that it does, and so forth. So, but anyway, I don't want to digress too much back into that. The point is that, you know, listen, Spygate, I get it, and they were caught. I will say this: they were obviously caught filming the wrong New York team. I really wish they were filming the New York Giants.
Yeah, the Patriots kryptonite, it seems.
And I you know, those are two knives in my back that I can't get. They're still, or my heart, that are still sitting there today. I just can't get over those losses to those mediocre.
The thing with the whole Spygate thing is also everyone tries to get a competitive edge over their opponent. Like, no matter, I mean, sometimes they bend the rules a little bit. They try not to break them. They try to stretch them. But every team in any professional sport tries to gain some kind of competitive edge over their opponent.
Whether it be something that's never been done before, addressed before, or if it's kind of that gray area. Remember,
the ineligible receiver from the Ravens game from a few weeks back.
Well,
that can be a prime example of a competitive edge. It is a complete legal move, by the way, to throw off a defense so you can get a competitive edge. It's completely legal. Everybody does it.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of talk right now too. As I'm getting off subject, what I was going to say, but that it's actually the Ravens that were responsible for all this happening this week. Because now, here's the thing, you know, a lot of people have come out this week, and everybody's convicted Tom Brady and Bill Belichick already. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Court of public opinion has already made these guys guilty, and the whole organization guilty of everything. As the week has progressed, we're finding out more and more information about this, which is like, this is why I'm defending it. I'm not defending him just because I'm a fan, but I'm also defending him. I'm trying to look at it from an opposite point of view also. Outside of the silliness of it, if we're talking about airing a football, you know, football? We're talking about airing a football? I mean, seriously.
Aaron Rodgers overinflates his balls.
But as the week is,
really hate to say it that way.
Right? Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers came out and says
no pun intended.
Aaron Rodgers has come out and said he likes them overinflated. You know, you've had Brad Johnson, who I actually heard on ESPN Radio this morning, who had a lot of interesting things to say about this matter.
What did you say? He paid like $7,500 during that Super Bowl against the Raiders
to scuff up about 100 footballs and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I'm trying not to touch everything all at once. I want to try to do everything in progression. But anyway, I was getting back to the Ravens are starting to be the ones that are looking like the ones that have got this whole thing started, because originally everybody thought it was the Colts that brought this up, and that it was because the interception that they got, you know, and that's turned out not to be true. The Colts didn't have anything to do with it.
Obviously, the Colts seemed like they could not care less
about
the whole situation. Well, they're all
coming out and saying that. DeQuell Jackson.
They played like crap, and they admitted it.
Yes, DeQuell Jackson has come out and said that he couldn't tell you the difference between the footballs. It wasn't him. He only wanted to keep the football for himself, and then all of a sudden he
a memento.
Yeah, for momentum for what he did. And then he was told that he couldn't have it, and he said he didn't even know anything about this so-called controversy until they actually got on the flight home. So that's one thing that came out. It wasn't even the Colts that brought it up.
Some of Hasselbeck's comments from the last couple of days.
Right. Now, the Colts, you know, previous in their game in November, I think that they had talked about it. But it's coming out more and more that it was possibly the Ravens that really made the call to them, making these suggestions that this was possibly going on or what have you. Now, the other thing is that everybody, or a lot of people, have been under the impression as well that this was taking place the entire game. Well, as the week has progressed, we've now come to find out that it stopped even prior to the end of the first half. That at some point, the referees or somebody recognized there might have been an issue, and they switched all the balls out. And
I believe even the kicking balls, which are kept separate because they're
because they are actually messed with.
Yeah, because I mean they're scuffed, they're overinflated. Each kicker, like a quarterback, has their preferences.
But at any rate, so it turned out just before the end of the half that the Patriots were actually using the Colts footballs before the end of the first half. Now, the last time I checked, the first half or the halftime score was 17-7.
Right.
All right.
That's when I went to sleep. Pretty much that game was over by that point.
So, yeah, I don't blame you there. But 17-7 at half. And they were already using the Colts as footballs by that point. And it was the second half the game got out of control. And it was so another 24 points were scored in the second half and 0 for the Colts.
That's why, like all the articles I've read with people being interviewed from the Colts organization, they all, from the whole get-go of the whole deal, it's like they really could not care less. I mean, they all admit we played like crap. It wasn't going to change the outcome of the game. Now, they did come out, like some guys did come out and say, could it had been a factor in the first half when it was only a 10-point difference in the score? Sure, I can understand that. That's still technically a close game. But, when you're going into towards the end of like 3-4 minutes left in the third quarter and you're down by 3.5, almost 4 scores, by that point, the game is over. Everyone's just going through the motions.
Yep.
But from the first half aspect, yeah, could at that time have that had an effect? Sure. I mean, given the weather conditions, cold weather will knock air out of just about anything. Your car tire, bike tires. I mean, It's just simple science. Now, like I was saying before, I don't think anything was intentional. I really don't.
And
I understand the whole public thing, given past allegations and past situations, that people are automatically jumping right to that.
Yep.
And then turn around and making this pretty much just one gigantic.
I mean, there's people calling for their heads. They want Belichick suspended for a year because Peyton, Gary Payton, Sean Payton was suspended for a year because of the Bounty Gate thing. Look,
there's a difference when you're headhunting a person and overinflating a football.
Well, let's get one thing straight. They're not even comparable situations. Okay, you're talking
They're
about
not even the same book.
You're talking about coaches putting out bounties to injure other players, as opposed to possibly, allegedly, air being taken out of these footballs. Again, I have to say allegedly because the only thing that's factual that has come out of this whole thing this week is that 11 of the 12 balls were underinflated,
under NFL,
or found to be
under regulation and whatever it is for gameplay, which is what, between 12.5 and 13.5 is the standard.
Correct. Now, the one thing that they haven't come out with, first of all, was were there any issues with any of the Colts balls? I haven't heard one thing about that yet. They haven't said that there was an issue. They haven't said that
now the 11
wasn't
of the 12
issue.
are strictly the Patriots footballs, or are they combined?
Each team gets 12 footballs, and they're inspected 2 hours and 15 minutes before kickoff.
Right. And that's not including the kicking balls, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So they're inspected 2 hours and 15 minutes before for the game by the referees. Now, understand this. This is all done in a room that's in room temperature. So say maybe 70 degrees.
Same thing what happens with baseballs in certain parts of the country.
Right. So it's 70 degrees. Now, Tom Brady he has admitted that he likes his footballs at the 12.5, which is the minimum allowed.
He likes them on the lower tier.
He likes them on the lower tier because he's got smaller hands. Okay? Now, if you're putting it at the very minimum line, in room temperature, 70 degrees, or let's, for example purposes, let's just say 70 degrees is kind of common room temperature. And then you take that said ball
and immediately drop it at 30.
Drop it to
30
to
degrees
under 40
out.
degrees or in the 30-degree weather.
It's like metal. It expands in heat and cold.
Actually, gas compresses, which means it condenses. Basically, you could go from 12.5 to 11.5 very easily, just by the change in weather. Anyway, this is just common science, folks. It doesn't take a rocket scientist either to know this. It's common knowledge. If anybody has a newer vehicle that has tire pressure gauges, automatic tire pressure gauges that will put a warning light on your dashboard if your tire gauges get too low, you'll know what I'm talking about, because if your tires are just kind of like right at the edge of where your tire pressure should be, and then once the weather gets a little bit colder, yes, here in Florida it does get colder sometimes, guess what? Those lights come on. It happens all the time. It happened in my car, and
it's just simple science.
It's just simple science. So that's the other thing that hasn't come out yet either. And the reason that has, they've talked about the science part of it, but here's the one thing that right now is they don't have any proof of how this came to be. And therefore, that's why the NFL and stuff has not
They're
even
saying
come out.
somebody from the Colts side was like during the first half mentioned something to the official, I think, from one of the articles I read, and then they decided on their own to investigate the balls.
Yeah, I mean,
It was after the Brady interception in the first or second quarter.
That's how it first was reported. And that was DeQuell Jackson. He's the one I was talking about who said, "It wasn't me. I didn't do it." So here's what's going on, though. The NFL is now doing their investigation. They say they've talked to over 40 people, blah, 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 blah. What they have to do right now, and the reason the NFL themselves at least won't come out and talk about the scientific aspect of it, is because right now they don't want to throw out, this is how it probably happened, this is how it possibly happened, this is how it could have happened. They want to get all the evidence gathered.
Yeah, they want to separate
first.
fact from fiction.
Exactly, which most people in public opinion have not done. I'm sure that's something that's going to be brought up. But what the NFL is doing right now is that they're going to review every film of that game. They're going
Especially the circumstances of that. If it was a regular season game, I don't think it really would have been as blown up. But the fact that it was the AFC Championship game, the winner goes to the Super Bowl.
Right.
I can understand where a lot of it is coming from that aspect, because the fact you're playing in a World Championship game possibly, and then all of a sudden, it's like.
Yeah, well, there was another game earlier this year. It was involving the Vikings and stuff like that during the regular season, where this same exact thing about underinflated balls came up, and no one really even heard about it. And I'm guaranteeing
I didn't.
Exactly.
I'm on ESPN every damn day.
Right. Because it wasn't important at the time. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't the New England Patriots. And look, I understand because you have a history of doing some, quote, cheating or bending the rule, whatever you want to call it. I get that, okay? And you're gonna jump on anything you can, but
like blood in the water,
right? But what the NFL is doing, like I said, they're reviewing all the film. It's going to include the TV broadcasts, films. It's going to include if NFL Films was around there, they're going to get those films. They're going to get the game film, and they're going to get those sideline cameras. They're going to get everything, and they're going to look to see if there's an instance where someone was taking a needle to the ball and letting air out or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, folks, if they're unable to find anything like that, any evidence where somebody is deflating these footballs,
concrete proof,
there's nothing's going to happen.
No loss of draft picks, no fines, no suspension.
Yeah, and they could possibly still levy a fine, I suppose, by saying, well, you're responsible for the maintenance of your ball, your footballs. Right. But honestly, if they can't find any evidence that says that this was done deliberately, and that is the key word here, folks, deliberately. Okay, everybody's made the assumption that this was done deliberately, and I'm not telling you it hasn't or has or hasn't. But
it is a distraction. No matter they're trying to downplay it, it's gonna be a distraction for their preparation.
I don't
to
know.
A certain degree, not to a high degree, but regardless, it's gonna be there because it's on TV every day. There's no way that any of the players or personnel can escape it.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the one thing that they're pretty good about is ignoring that kind of stuff. But
the other thing that kind of it sucks, since you're saying that the NFL is being so careful, to make sure that they get every bit of,
right.
Where was that kind of process during the rest of the stuff going on this year or past seasons?
This has been a hell of a year for the NFL. Let's be honest. This has not been one of their best years.
They're just bringing to light a lot of things that have been going on in professional sports.
Yeah.
Not intentionally bringing to light, just the way that it's happening.
Right. And say what you want, about this whole situation, and believe me, I've been giving it and I've been getting it all week. One of the things that, I bring up the fact that myself and other people that I see that people need to do is not say because we bring up other instances where this has happened and so forth as being an excuse for it to occur. That's not what I'm saying. The point is that it's not the same thing as, oh, well, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? It's not like that. But if everybody is doing what they can to gain an edge in a game and you're the only one not doing it, then you're doing wrong. Your keys for your car. Brian wants the keys for your car. He needs to move it so you can get out. Sorry. But the thing is, look, I lost my train of thought because I got interrupted, but it's not about showing that, other teams are doing it, it's okay. That's not what I'm saying. It's not what other people that are defending the Patriots are saying. It's saying that it's not just the Patriots doing it, it is other teams also. I'm not saying it's not okay on either thing across the board. The point is that if you're going to harp on one, you should harp on the other. I got another friend out there specifically, and who happens to be a big-time Patriot hater, has jumped on this incessantly because he's a Buffalo Bill fan. But the one thing that he is also is a Yankee fan, which I am also. But if you're a Yankee fan...
That's not entirely me. I know plenty of Bills fans that are Yankees fans.
No, I'm talking about me. Being a Yankee fan is odd. But my point is that he's so quick to jump on calling the Patriots cheatriots and Belichick and all this and stuff like that. And they're cheaters. Yet when I argue with him about his own Yankees team, and as a Yankee fan, I can tell you, all the controversies with all their cheating, the steroids and Aroyd working out with Barry Bonds right now before the season starts. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Alex Rodriguez running down first base and whacking the glove to knock the ball out of the glove in the World Series or in
ALCS.
The ALCS, excuse me.
Right.
I mean, the list goes on and on about all the alleged Yankee cheat, but yet you bring that up. Oh, well, it's not baseball season. This is football season. Yeah, exactly.
It's a cultural thing.
And then I got on some Seahawk fans wanted to jump in this week too, and so I
saw that. That was pretty funny.
So I went. You can go on my personal page and see the whole chain of events going on there. I had an anonymous Seahawk fan. She wanted to call it out. I called her out on her own team. Seahawks had in 2012 5 players suspended for PEDs. You want to talk about cheating? How do you think you got the Legion of Boom? Because they're all roided up or something? Okay, it weren't roids, but they were PEDs, Adderall specifically, and stuff like that. But that is considered cheating as well. They get their panties all got up in a bunch because of it.
And look at Pete Carroll's history.
Yeah, go ahead and take your keys off. Pete Carroll, their own coach, comes from USC. Just as he knew they were going to get in trouble for, guess what? Cheating. You know what I mean? So,
all the stuff he did at USC. Come on now, people.
But so seriously, all the butt hurt that I got from all the Seahawk fans. I got defriended. I've got that person that defriended me called in some of their own Seahawk friends to jump on and try to give me crap. They're insulting me and calling me names. It's like, whoa, back up a little bit. Now, it's okay for you to jump on, on the Patriots and stuff like that, but when your own team gets called out, it's not okay. Let's call a spade a spade. It is what it is, okay? So we all have our controversies. It even came out this week, too. Another side story, and quite honestly, this is a pretty big and significant story, much more than deflated balls. And sorry, Chris, this is involving your team.
Oh, the
Pittsburgh
Mike
Steelers
Adams situation.
Where the Steelers have their top security guy in charge of security, who is also a law enforcement officer in the Pittsburgh area.
We like to call that a cleaner.
Yes,
every team has one.
He's called the cleaner, and yes, I'm sure every team does have one.
Or at least the popular type teams do, I would think.
You would think, but again, we don't have proof of that. We can only make assumptions based on that it probably does happen, but. This is a situation where the Steelers were caught with their cleaner. He is a law enforcement officer, again, who was found to have possibly, or there's evidence to show that he has gotten some specific Steeler players out of certain messes. I won't delve into what those things are. There's no point in rehashing all that stuff. But the point is that came out this week. You wouldn't even know it existed. Probably anybody that's listening right now probably doesn't even know it existed. It's a little side story that got under thrown under the rug because this stupid thing about air in a football has become bigger than anything else.
Well, there's also there's several side stories. I mean, you got the Mike Adams thing with the clean air for when he, quote unquote, when he got stabbed. Mm-hmm. Was it last year? I think it was, or the year before.
Yeah.
And then now you have the side story of Terrence Cody from the Baltimore Ravens and the animal cruelty charge that's probably going to be coming down on him.
Yep,
and they were real quick to release him,
well,
but then again, after the handling of Ray Rice, they kind of had no choice.
They can't release him until Monday, I don't think.
But it's going to happen. He's on restricted free agent anyways in March, so it's really no loss for them.
Right.
They just don't need any more backlash.
Right.
If any team's taking it on the chin this year, it's the freaking Baltimore Ravens.
Well, you know what?
Rightfully so.
And there, you've transitioned into my connection of why do you think that's why it's coming back to look at maybe the Ravens set this whole ball in motion with the Patriots?
Because they're now the Oakland Raiders of the East Coast.
Well, but that's the connection I was trying to work my way up to, and you've just linked it. There's evidence to show that it's actually the Ravens that brought this Deflategate thing or whatever you want to call it to the surface because they knew this animal cruelty charge for one of their own players was coming down, and the last thing the Baltimore Ravens needed was more attention drawn to their team yet again for something despicable. It's bad enough they had, the Ray Rice incident
their head
situation.
Of security.
Yeah.
Was it the sexual assault or rape charge? Or
right, yeah, their own head of security that, is behind the controversy of why the Ravens may or may not have known ahead of time anyway.
The off-season arrests.
Some off-season arrests, and now you would have had another pretty nasty public image nightmare of a player on their team, an insignificant one, I will say.
Ozzie Newsome's got some damage control this offseason.
With animal cruelty charges, so listen up. Raven fan, and I will say that Raven fans have pretty much been quiet because they have well enough to know that they're the last ones that can talk about it. And one thing I will say too is if the worst thing that goes on with the New England Patriots, and if they allegedly let air out of the footballs or whatever, and again allegedly because there's no proof that they actually did or had anything to do with it, if that's the worst thing that they're doing or that's coming out of that team, you know what? I'm okay with that. Because
obviously it's not the worst thing coming out of that team.
Now, I'm not, Aaron Hernandez, we all know about that. Yeah. Yes, I get that. But they acted swiftly and quickly on that, washed their hands of it, and have erased him
pretty
from.
Much did what they could.
Right.
There's really no rhyme or reason to that. What they did, what any organization would have, with an allegation of that nature, that obviously that kind of caliber, that you pretty much have to do everything within your legal right to make sure that. The legal system handles that the way it needs to. Right. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is with this whole Deflategate thing. I mean, it just not even a full half of football. You can jump to conclusions. You can say, it had to have been going on for all these years. Well, it doesn't have to have had to. There's no proof of anything. Look, these people that are convicting them, I hope that they're not ever serving on any juries, because you have to have at least a little bit more evidence than to just you can draw your own conclusion when all the evidence is in. People are going to think what they think.
Ignorance is bliss, though,
I suppose. But you got Matt Hasselbeck, who's a backup quarterback for the Colts and a longtime veteran in the NFL. Was a good quarterback in his own right.
He used to be a Patriot ball boy when he was a kid back in the day.
Yeah. And he himself says no one cares about this Deflategate. No one, meaning most of the players, at least on his team he's speaking about. They don't really care about it. Dwayne Allen, the Colts tight end, came out. He's basically said, they could have played us with soap for balls and beat us. So this isn't something that's changed the outcome of the game. It didn't affect the outcome of the game. There's all sorts of theories of, this helped them to catch the ball.
Yeah, it's like they're turning this into like the Kennedy bullet theory.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I think even Jerome Bettis, your boy, came out and said, well, if I had balls that were underdeflated, I would never have fumbled. Okay, whatever, Jerome, you don't know that. And is a less deflated football better, easier to grip. In theory, I suppose that's true. I don't know. I didn't play big time football, so I don't have any idea. I know when I played football in the yards and stuff like
Pop
that,
Warner.
yeah, or even in practice in high school, we had half the balls were flat. You know what I'm saying? So
It's like throwing a falafel across the field.
I mean, it certainly isn't easier to throw. A deflated football also, last I checked, had nothing to do with the defense only giving up 7 points. I mean, really, what?
Yeah, deflated ball's not going to stop the run.
It's not. Yeah, a deflated ball doesn't stop the Colts or any team from tackling a running back. It doesn't.
Except for maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars. But
Yeah,
that's just...
yeah, exactly. An underinflated ball doesn't stop a wide receiver from getting wide open. A deflated football doesn't help a wide receiver throw a 51-yard touchdown pass to a wide open receiver.
That's what skill sets, offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators are to come up with game plans to stop said situations.
Right. You still have to execute the plays. You still have to throw the ball. You still have to catch the ball. You still have to run the ball, and it really is that simple. And
that's why this whole situation should, like me. You know me, I'm not a Patriots fan by no means, but this whole situation is just a joke.
Yep, there's no.
It's a joke that's gotten to national and almost global epic proportions.
Yes, and especially when there's so much more important things going on in the world. I mean, I'm talking about real life world events.
First world problems.
First world problems, you know, this incessant, you know, the wars and the things that our government are doing or not doing to. I mean, there's so many more things for people to get riled up about. But, you know, when I post that kind of stuff, it's like it's crickets. Crickets.
It's just,
you don't get any kind of reaction.
White noise.
Yeah, white noise.
Like when people are posting about the oil leaks going on these pipelines and stuff like that.
Two major oil leaks. This is the third
in
one
North America, correct?
Yeah.
Like one in Canada and like one in like the Dakotas.
Yes, that's just this week, and that's the third one this month. It's only
And
January.
it's all from fracking, from what I don't know too much about fracking.
One of them was fracking deposits. It caused it. Yeah, so. There's more important things going on, but you post that kind of stuff, and it's nothing.
It's the environment. You know, you kind of live in it.
Right.
You know.
No comments, no nothing. But God, you post a defense of this situation,
and everyone loses their heads.
Everyone loses their freaking mind. I got this thread on my page that's been going on for days because this is what's throwing people up in arms, and you know it's causing people to defriend me or call me names or.
By the way, it's the internet. Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I go with it. Yeah, I get a little bit defensive and I'll defend it, but you know, I'm also having fun with it. I'll try to get people riled up, and
but you love a good debate, at least an educated good debate.
One. But when I first come out and
not someone just talking out their butt.
Yeah, and someone calling me all sorts of names, it's like, okay, now I got you. And then I'm really going to go after you. But this stuff, you know, you get this stuff, and it just amazes me, you know, where people's heads are and where their priorities are, and you know, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because it happens constantly. But listen, everybody just needs to take a step back. Nothing's going to happen this week. And we've got the big game is next weekend.
They're going to wait till well after the Super Bowl to release any kind of findings.
Deflated footballs had nothing to do with the Patriots getting to the Super Bowl. They've earned their right there. You can say what you want. The sad thing is if they don't beat Seattle, and next week we'll be talking about the game, so I'm not going to give my predictions or my breakdowns or anything like that. But, you know, if the Patriots do anything but short of winning the Super Bowl next week, it's gonna keep on going like the same thing that's been going on since 2007. They haven't been able to win a Super Bowl since Spygate. Again, Spygate had nothing to do with any of that. The only reason they haven't won the two Super Bowls since then was because of a lucky ass catch on the top of the helmet of a third string tight end that's not even in the league anymore. And,
no Adam Vinatieri. That's always been my little running joke.
Right. Well, and a dropped pass by Wes Welker in the second Super Bowl. If those two things don't happen, or if Wes Welker catches that ball in the second one, the Patriots win that game and win a Super Bowl. If a ball doesn't stick to the top of a nobody tight end on a getting out of a sack, somehow squeezing out of a pack, and
that was a crazy throw, though. I'm not even gonna lie.
Just tossing the ball up for grabs and then sticking on this guy's helmet.
That's like the
that
most
doesn't
half-ass
happen.
Hail Mary I've ever seen in my life.
If that doesn't happen, it's game over
What was
there
it?
too.
David Tyree? Was that
Yes,
who it was?
David Tyree. And it was a 4th down play. It looked like a sack, and then all of a sudden, somehow Manning squeezed out of there and just lofted the ball up for grabs.
Freaking Bizarro with a Hail Mary.
Bizarro. So they would have won that Super Bowl too. So I don't want to hear this crap about, they haven't won. Yeah, no, of course they haven't. But how many teams haven't even made it to a Super Bowl since 2007? How many other teams have lost Super Bowls since 2007? Right?
We lost to the Packers in 2010.
Right. I mean, so what's your point? So they haven't won a Super Bowl since 2007. There's a lot of teams that haven't even made it to the Super Bowl since 2007. Had nothing to do
There's
with
teams
them.
that went to 4 straight and couldn't
Right.
win one.
Again, and the only reason people say that is because their assumption is that the Patriots filmed every single team, and since they don't film every
And
single
they're
team, they
also a
can't win Super
popular
Bowls.
brand.
Right. Again, they filmed one team, the New York Jets, or at least that they got caught on. So that's the only thing we can say is that they only filmed one team.
Yeah, that's a legit
That's it.
truth.
It has nothing to do, no bearing whatsoever with regards to them going to Super Bowls, winning divisions, winning games. It's just, it's amazing where people take, the level that people take certain controversies to. It's just dumbfounding. It's like conspiracy theorists. It really is. These same people that are jumping on the Patriots like they are the same people that make fun of people, like myself that are considered conspiracy theorists. Well, look at yourself in the mirror, put your own tinfoil hat on, and think about all the judgments and stuff that you're passing on, and just got to look deep. And let's look. I'll be the first one if they come out at the end of this and they find that they got some video or something of somebody deliberately letting air out the ball. Hey, I'll be the first one to say, shit, you're right. They were definitely doing it. They knew they were doing it, and it was done on purpose. It's still,
And
again,
that's when all the wolves are going to be coming out of the woods.
Yeah, and but you know what? Regardless of all that, no matter what happens in the situation, you watch. There'll be rule changes.
Oh yeah, whenever they change a rule here's the name of any sport. If there's a rule named after a player, that means they did something wrong prior to.
Yep.
Prime example. Now doesn't exist anymore. The Tom Brady Tuck rule, for one.
Mm-hmm.
The Hines Ward rule. The Calvin Johnson rule. Which, Des Bryant, you should look that up. There's any rule in any professional sports that's named after a player, that means you were doing something wrong. They had no choice but to do so.
Right. But I think even the rules, honestly, for the amount of air in the footballs, that's not even an old rule. That's a fairly recent rule too.
Yeah, but like the last 2 or 3 years, something like that.
I'm not sure if it's
Like
that recent
Rule
or not.
42B, Section 12A, something like that.
I don't remember when it came into play, but I remember situations where kickers were accused of putting helium in the balls instead of regular straight air, because helium is a light gas, therefore the ball could conceivably travel very much further. And when
that shouldn't really affect the weight of the ball that much.
Helium, it's
it's
the lightest gas there is.
Well, I'm talking about if you figured the weight of what the ball is made out of.
But think about it. Everything has weight.
Yeah.
Straight air has weight. That's what that 12 and a half to 13.5 pounds. Helium, if you put regular air in a balloon, does it not fall to the ground? But when you put helium in that balloon, does it not float?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely get
so-
that. I'm just trying to say obviously if you put helium in a football, is because obviously the material of a football versus a latex balloon. You see where I'm kind of going with that a little bit?
Yes, but
it shouldn't affect the weight that much, but I get why
But it would.
those allegations.
But it's the same theory. Just think of a balloon. If a
they
balloon,
still got to execute no matter what.
right? But if a balloon sinks because of regular air is in it, but it floats away with helium, it doesn't matter what the outer surface is weighing; it's what's inside. So it's that extra weight. Not saying that the helium is going to make the football float away, but it would in theory, and would technically make it lighter.
Give it competitive.
So that's when
edge.
a lot of this kind of rule and stuff came out with stuff like this. But let's even go back even a decade ago, or a little bit longer. Remember, Kurt Warner started wearing the glove on his throwing hand.
Was this when he was with the Giants or when he was with the Rams?
Still with the Rams when he started, or actually,
It might have been when he was with Kerry Collins in New York, because it was him and Kerry Collins as the quarterbacks during at that time.
So But I know it came because of Kurt Warner started wearing a glove on his throwing hand as a quarterback. Everybody's like, oh, he can't do that. That's cheating. He's getting a better grip on the ball. Well, they said the same thing when receivers started wearing gloves too. Before that, receivers couldn't wear gloves. They used to remember
everybody wears gloves now.
Hell, back in the old days. But remember, back in the older days of football, guys like Fred Biletnikoff, one of the best wide receivers in the history of the game, used to put stickum on his hands. Remember the whole thing about they used to have stickum, and there used to be all these jokes about their hands would stick to everything, and they couldn't so
it's like that scene from The Replacement to Orlando Jones.
But right, exactly. And there was no rule against that until it became an issue. Then all of a sudden you could no longer have stickum on player. Right. Then all of a sudden you could no longer have stickum on your hands. So there are things that have gone through the decades of the NFL where you can call it cheating, and then there's rules placed
Some people call it evolution of the game, or however you want to call it.
Right. Now, in this particular case, same thing. Before, it never used to be a thing, and then it became a thing, and then some teams will still try to get away with it. Look, it's all about gaining an edge, like you said earlier, Chris. I mean, if you're not trying to push the envelope a little bit or do that a little extra
every
bit.
team does, no matter what. No matter what professional sport.
And I'm not saying to go out there and blatantly cheat. And I'm sorry, I'm just not going to consider taking a little air out of football like blatant cheating that you're gaining some huge advantage. The Patriots are going to would have beaten most of the teams regardless if they're doing it. Even if you're out there and you can beat a team, why wouldn't you still want to get even more of an edge if you possibly can? I mean, it's just the nature of the game. You can go out, hey, I can beat this guy no matter what, but I'm still going to take my shot at it. I mean, one of my favorite lines is out of the movie Rounders.
Oh, God, it's been forever since I've seen that movie.
Okay, well, the movie Rounders, if you're not familiar, it's basically a movie around poker with Ed Norton Jr. and Matt Damon are in it, and Ed Norton's character, Worm. One of his things is they go to a municipal lodge and they get involved in their poker games. It's actually a bunch of cops. Ironically, Claire's uncle is one of the cops in that movie. My wife's uncle is in that movie. At any rate, they end up getting caught. Worm gets caught cheating or dealing off the bottom of the deck. Even though Matt Damon was wiping the table off these guys. Straight up, beating him because he was that good of a card player. Worm comes in later on, and then he gets involved in the same game, and then he starts dealing off the top, and he's cheating at the table. Well, they get caught, and they end up getting their asses beat and thrown out. Well, I know I'm making a short story long, but one of the lines after they get beat up and they're talking, they're arguing about it, is because Matt Damon's character starts yelling at him. He's like, look, I was beating those guys. I didn't need your help. I didn't need you throwing the game. And he was like, look, you always think that you can beat the game straight up. That's not me. I told you, I'm always going to look for that edge. Always. So what he was essentially saying is like, look, I know we could beat these guys, but I'm still not going to take any chances. I'm going to do what I can to even get that added edge. So I think maybe instead of the Patriots beating a team by 20, maybe they only beat them by 10. Who knows? There's really nothing that's come out that said how much of a big advantage this is. I mean, there's been enough former NFL guys, quarterbacks and such on TV. Some have been saying it wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. Some have said, well,
not in those weather conditions.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things. No one's really come out and said what exactly this advantage has caused or helped the Patriots in. There's theories, there's numbers out there, but still no conclusive evidence one way or the other to show exactly what kind of advantage this is giving, and how much this has truly, changed their destiny or how good a team they really are. I just don't see it. I don't get it. Like I said, Brad Johnson, former Buccaneer quarterback, was on ESPN radio when I just got home this morning. And he was on there, outside of the thing about him paying somebody before the Super Bowl $7,500 to scuff up 100 balls. He said, "Look, I couldn't tell you half the time much difference between the balls. He said it was the day before that I got the balls. I checked them out to see how I liked them. After that, throughout the course of a game, I couldn't tell you if there's a difference in the ball from the first quarter to the fourth
Well,
quarter.
seeing the defense was just tearing it up that
Yeah,
game.
but he he himself were like, I can't tell you the difference between the first quarter and the fourth quarter of football. I couldn't tell you, and again, if you're wearing gloves or anything like that, I mean, how could you certainly tell that much of a difference? I don't know. Again, I didn't play that level of football. I can only go based on what people are telling me. I just think it's all silly. Chime in if you want. You probably, if whatever you want to. This debate's been going on all week. It's probably going to continue into next week. I hope not, because now it's the week of the game. I think it's time to just start talking about the game.
It's going to be brought up on Tuesday, at media day. It's
Yeah.
going to get brought up on both sides.
Which is dumb. Let's just start focusing on the game, because honestly, the one thing that's not going to happen is that's not going to happen in this game. The Super Bowl's always been different anyway. I think the Bears equipment guy is going to be on the sideline for one of them, and I don't know what other team's equipment guy is going to be on the other sideline. So they take measures in the Super Bowl to make sure that the own teams aren't handling those footballs. So
Try to keep it as fair and even as possible.
So I guarantee you next year that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, the NFL goes out of its way to pay guys. They actually pay guys to stand on the sidelines to make sure that people have proper cleats, that their socks are pulled up, that their jerseys are tucked in, that their pants aren't above their knees. They actually have guys on the sidelines that do this.
All I got to do for the next year's playoffs is the teams that did not make the playoffs, you use those personnel for each individual playoff game.
No, what the NFL will do is they're going to end up now hiring one more guy to be on the sidelines. He's going to be he's not going to be employed by. He's going to be employed by the NFL to be in control of the balls. Teams aren't going to have ball boys anymore. That's what's going to go away, which is a shame, because it's actually a pretty nice little gig for, a young kid, 17, 18, 19, or 20 years old.
Get paid to be,
It's a great experience. My boss at work, he used to be a ball boy. He's told me, about all the stories and stuff like that.
The vantage point alone is just...
Yeah, just the experience. I mean, it's a neat thing to do. So that's probably what's going to happen next year, is that the NFL will start employing guys now to be an independent handler of the footballs. So stuff like this can't happen, and it'll go away. The stigma behind the Patriots, it won't go away. It is what it is, and they're going to have to live with it. And everybody can go on hating and doing what you want, but I'm going to wait until everything's out. And if there's no proof of it all, you still got the issue of science out there, and I think that's real important. I think USA Today actually came out with another article this morning specifically about the science of it all. A really interesting article. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and post it on our Facebook page for anybody that might be interested to check it out, because, again, science is key, folks. It's important in a lot of things. So let's just let it go. Some people just need to let it go. It is what it is. This is not as big an issue as it's all being made out to be. This is the other inherent problem of having 2 weeks in between the championship games and the Super Bowl. It allows for this. The first week is just dead week time, where they grasp onto anything they can to talk about.
It's one of the doldrums that we have throughout the year.
Yep. There were some other things that happened this week. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, passed away yesterday, age 83. I was sad to see that happen. That's a shame.
The legend, history. He was the first African American Cubs player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was
in 1953.
Something like that.
Well, because he played for the Monarchs in 50 to 52, right. And then they sold his contract to the Cubs.
Correct. And he's the man there, and it's a shame, because with all the new Wrigley changes and stuff this year, I know they wanted him to be a part of that.
Or at least, if anything, witness the cultural change it's going to be going through with the Cubs with everything they've done in the offseason. I mean,
we'll definitely get into baseball talks as we get a little bit closer to February. Last year in our baseball show, I was kind of high on the Kansas City Royals, And I said that was kind of like my darling team
Yeah,
to look out
had
for. And look
sleeper
what
written
happened.
all over. I mean, they had two very quality aces on there. I mean, obviously James Shields, who I'm highly
still not
surprised.
signed
No
yet.
job.
Still not
How-
signed yet.
What is going on with that? That just baffles. Scherzer got a contract before.
Yeah, it's
An exponential contract from the Nationals. I didn't even think they had the cap space to afford that.
right. Well, in the thing, it sucks. I honestly thought the Yankees might make a run at him, but the problem is with A-Rod coming back, that puts $21 million back on their payroll.
Yeah, they got a little bit of cap space problems this year. Next,
Well,
they're gonna have to
if
dump
it weren't
off.
if it weren't for A-Rod coming back, the Yankees would probably go after him. But believe it or not, the Yankees are actually again monitoring their payroll. And they've basically outright said the reason they haven't gone after a guy like Shields or even Scherzer was because they've got A-Rod's money on their books, and it's killing them. So I wish he would just go away.
And then
But,
and
he'll
then
get
other
signed by
players
somebody.
that they're still paying.
Yeah, he'll get signed by somebody, I'm sure. So,
I mean,
but I think the Cubs are kind of setting up nicely. They could be this year's Kansas City Royals.
maybe not this year,
I'm
but
going
they're
to pump the brakes a little bit on that.
they'll definitely be a team to want to watch over the course of the next
extremely young.
three
Yeah.
seasons.
Oh, absolutely. But
They're
talk-
going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that later on. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit on that. I said they could be, but they still got a lot to prove yet. They were still a pretty bad team last year, but they've got some super
On
young
paper, they're
talent.
solid on paper.
And young, that's just it. Young talent. They got a good manager in there now.
Getting Lester was a very big win for them.
Yep.
But having the familiarity with Epstein,
Yep.
having familiarity, being on the opposing side, obviously they got him before they got Madden, I believe, or was it the other way around?
Madden first.
So they're all
Familiarity.
all with each other.
Yep.
And not surprising that Dave Martinez went straight from there after, Tampa kind of screwed him.
Yep.
So not surprised that he went and became Madden's bench coach.
Yeah, he definitely he was like, well, you know what, screw you guys, I'm out of here.
And they did him dirty.
Yep, no doubt. They weren't even going to give him a chance.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get into baseball talk here probably in the next within the next month or so because
Especially when we get closer to pitchers and catchers reporting at the end of February,
we'll
get into
see.
spring training, which I definitely would love to be a part of that show.
Yeah, we'll
I'm a
definitely
baseball
have-
nut, you know
we'll have
that.
you in. Yeah, we'll have you in for that. We'll do predictions and stuff like that. So, but today was really pretty much about this little issue, and not to really get into the whole sports show thing. I really wanted to speak out on this, and I know coming off of this thing, there's more to it, and you and I were talking about it, and
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all the things I posted. If you could probably just repost that particular one so people can kind of read some of the comments I left on that one particular post from the other night.
yeah,
Because that would help kind of like jog my memory from it. Because I work crazy hours, people. So, but yeah, just getting into it, all the stuff that's going on in the NFL and just professional sports as a whole, there is an inherent and vehemently absurd, disgusting, cultural special favors. Just there is things going on in professional sports now that are absolutely atrocious. And everything that's going on in the NFL this year, which is part of what we're getting into with this little impromptu show, and it started with using Deflategate as kind of an easy transition getting in there. We touched on it a little bit about the Mike Adams cleaner thing, about from when he was quote unquote attacked and stabbed and this, that, and the other thing, and these special favors. What makes me, like, as the years are going by, I'm starting not to pay attention to sports as much, or maybe being disillusioned, because the cultural aspects of what's going on, where the entitlements that people feel that they can get away with quote unquote bloody murder.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the thing with the sexual assaults, the beatings,
Yep.
the child abuse
Well,
charges, the
look-
animal cruelty stuff.
Yeah, or killing dogs. You got the guy from Dallas Cowboys who
Killed his
killed
own
his own
teammate.
teammate driving drunk. He got released from a short term in prison for killing somebody, and he was back on the football team. I mean,
It's disgusting what's going on in professional sports.
and you had mentioned about role models and children looking up to.
No. Like me personally, when I have kids, I do not want my kids looking up to people like this, because this is not how it should be. Like, team sports are meant to be a character building, exercise and activity, and you learn life lessons of how form bonds and stuff like that. I understand the popularity of professional sports. I get it. But do you honestly, people who actually are listening, everything that's gone on in the last few years, we'll use the last 5 years of everything that's been going on in professional sports when it comes to, we'll use the Ray Rice thing. We'll use some of the Jose Canseco stuff that's been coming up here and there. Even the guy from the Bengals falling off the back of a truck, or his wife or whatever, and she died or he died.
Yep.
And that was a domestic violence incident. Right. Everything that's going on is think about it. Would you want your kids growing up and having these people as their role models and their idols? It's absolutely not.
Well, let's also be clear here too that all these incidences that we've run up sound like a lot of incidences. They are, but percentage-wise, it's a small percent of the NFL.
They're getting closer to.
All right. Well, is the percentage of these incidents getting bigger, or is that more what the media and the news
I think it's a
getting a hold
combination of the both.
Well,
to one degree or next, I think
but that's just it. Here's the reason I asked that question, because it was more of a rhetorical question. Because honestly, I don't believe that the incidents, the statistics have shown that the incidents really aren't any greater than they ever have been. What you have here, and it's like anything else that's going on that's out there and gets blown up, whether it be the Michael Brown thing or the Trayvon Martin thing. These incidents, none of these things are new.
No,
and the incidences themselves, in and of themselves, are not getting greater. It's that there are more avenues now for that information to come out. There's an abundance of social media now.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything.
Snapchat. Yeah. Everybody
anyone with a camera phone.
Yes, anybody that's got a phone pretty much has a camera on it. So there's cameras everywhere. They all have video now.
Like that one security guy with that college game. They had a picture of looked like the security guard beating the college fan who looked like he was unruly or drunk or what have you.
So
anyone with a camera phone these days, you're an instant field reporter.
Yeah. So there's more media outlet for all this stuff. They've got more people with cameras, video cameras, photo cameras. There's just more of that available, and then there's more avenues for which it can reach out there. YouTube, Facebook, whatever the social media aspect is. There's so many more avenues now to get those pictures, those videos, those stories out there, and then that's just the culmination of that. And then you get into the culture that's been driven probably over the last couple decades now, where everybody, you can start it with the Jerry Springer show and stuff like that. Everybody now doesn't want to hear all the nice things. They don't want to hear about all the good things that NFL players are doing or whatever. A guy like a Derek Brooks or whatever is doing out there for the community. The good
or even
things.
Someone like J.J. Watt, who does phenomenal charity work and stuff for the community.
Any number of players. So there's more players. There really are more players doing good than there are players doing bad. But we don't hear about it. We don't hear about it because sensationalism is the way of the world right now, and people aren't interested in the feel-good stuff anymore. They're interested in seeing bad things happen to good people or bad things just in general, and they want to run with it.
But that statement right there in itself is sad. That's what people want to see. What does that say about the people? It says a lot.
Right. And so who do you blame? I mean, look, it's just where the media has driven these days, and it's where it's angled, and so you start inducing that into culture, and then unfortunately that's what it becomes. You could start today, media and stuff like that was starting with all good stuff, and just end with a couple bad things. That's how the news used to be until it got ridiculous.
I mean, you can sell someone a dream, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy it.
Right. But I mean, right now, I don't even watch regular news anymore because it's just.
I haven't in years. It's
it's just ridiculous, and it's just a half an hour or an hour of
actual legit issues.
Yeah. There's not even, most of it's not even really legit stuff. It's about
I'm sorry. When I turn on TV, I don't want to hear about a stupid Kardashian having a baby or something.
Well, not even that. I mean, that stuff's not even. I'm talking about like news, just news. It's like bad. Then like the last 30 seconds of the broadcast, they do a quick feel-good story about somebody rescuing a dog or something like that. Of course, I'm just, generalizing here, but that's kind of the way it goes. It's like the entire stuff. Well, it's bad weather, bad weather, feel-good story for 30 seconds, and the news broadcast is over. And then if it happens to be a situation like a Michael Brown instance or Trayvon Martin situation where, ooh, hey, white guy kills black kid, let's go ahead and boom, let's sensationalize it, let's divide people more, let's create this a racial issue and make this, divide this country even more, and that's what they do, and then it's like this, oh, hey, Patriots got caught cheating on something again, boom, let's run with it, let's blow it out there. And
Ravens player got to do dogfighting.
Yeah, boom.
Or
listen, I mean, seriously,
Dallas Cowboys player DUI accident with a fatality.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody just needs to learn to start taking a step back.
And just remember, at the end of the day, what we watch when it comes to these sports, at the end of the day, it is a game.
Yep, it's
a game. Is there for entertainment.
Yep. And distraction. Yeah.
And the fact that the way, like what I was meaning earlier, like break it down to a simple form, when we were growing up, you could look to these professional sports players as like role models, and and it was different then than it is now. If you simply break it down, ask yourself the simple question: the way the media plays it out, obviously you don't hear any of the good stuff, but just try and break it down to a simplistic form, and ask yourself: would you want your kids looking up to these types of people or situations that, yes, you're going to see it every day, all day. It's what's going to be shown to you because that's what they want you to see.
Yep.
But still, you still have to ask yourself, would you want your children subjected to it?
Right.
And when I break it down to that simplest form, no. When I have kids, absolutely not. I'd rather have them be chess players than have to look up to something like that and think that is the way. That is not the way. All those situations are easily correctable if people actually think.
Yep.
It's like, get out of that air of entitlement. Yeah, you make X amount of dollars. At the end of the day, it is paper. It's going to burn the same way.
Yep. Well, it's.
I just think it's atrocious the way the culture and professional sports has become.
Yeah, and but the thing is, it's like, look, I have my certain teams that I hate, and you know that.
And vice versa.
And I'll be I'm one that'll jump all over something too, but I'm also wise enough to know that let's let the whole story come out. Let's see what ends up being at the end all, and before we start passing complete judgment.
I just hate this holier than thou mentality. I mean, you look at prime example. I think part of it, I'll even bring it up like where it's not as bad, but it just shows someone's mentality where they think on the perceptions. Use Marshawn Lynch. Like any job that we all have, when you get into a full-time job, when you sign your application and stuff like that, there is a verbal and written agreement that there's a standard that you have to uphold for the company that you work for and expectations. Like for what I do for a living, there are expectations and standards that I have to meet at a minimal level. The same thing goes for anyone that plays for the Yankees or the Dallas Stars or the Seattle Storm or, whatever. But then you look at these guys like Marshawn Lynch. He knows he's been in the league how long, how many years, even when he was back with Buffalo.
Yep.
He's been in the league, 10 years? He knows he's done interviews before, but he's got this holier-than-thou mentality to him now where he feels like he doesn't have to.
Yeah, he wants to do it. Marshawn wants to do what Marshawn wants to do.
And they're going to find the absolute crap out of him now.
And the funny thing is he's been fined
he's probably about to get fined $200,000 for 2 days.
He's been fined more than Ray Rice was fined
or Sue. Or even look at Sue for all those penalties.
Yeah, he's been fined more than Ndamukong Suh, but that's his own fault, though. He's not getting necessarily. He's getting fined for his incidents that he's doing, but he's also getting fined for his blatant disregard of what the league has dictated that they want him to comply with as a player in their league.
And when you get into the league, like I said, treat it like it was a a regular career, like like a regular Joe Schmo job, and there's no such thing as professional sports.
Yep.
Again, there is a standard and an expectation that when you work for a company that you are supposed to uphold.
Yeah, I mean, is a lot of it silly?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't like a lot
It's
of the direction.
stupid.
I don't like a lot of the direction the NFL's going right now.
It's starting to become like a really bad reality TV show.
Yep. So I mean, it's just it's just silly, but they're the league and they can dictate what they want to do. And if you don't agree with it, you have two choices. You can either just keep getting yourself fined for it ridiculously, or just comply.
How many years is he going to be paying? Because I know they're taking out one
here's
shot.
Here's
How long is he going to be paying those fines for?
Yeah,
a few years.
No, they usually come out right away. And here's the thing: I'm gonna say right now, it's like, hey, Marshawn,
get your head out of your ass.
Well, yeah, in about 5 years, when you're broke and you have no fucking money, you're going to look back and say, man, I really just threw away $1 million in fines because I was a dumbass. And you're going to wish you had $1 million in your pocket. Because right now it seems, it's nothing to me. It's nothing to me. But guess what? You're already contemplating retiring. Those paychecks come to an end, my friend. They don't just keep coming when you retire and you're not playing anymore. I don't wish anybody well, but the statistics say that guys like that are the ones that end up broke. Right. It's close to 80% of NFL players within 5 years of leaving the league are broke or at least financially struggling.
Yeah, how's that rookie symposium working out for you, NFL?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, you got to like with still being on the Marshawn Lynch and kind of linking back to what I was saying about the cultural and role model thing. Twice, he's been fined for an obscene gesture on national TV. Kids are obviously watching those games with their parents.
Yep.
That is the prime example of what I mean. Would you want your kids seeing someone like that? How's that professional? Grabbing your crotch on national TV to try and one up, or it's like, haha, I got you to the opposing team. No, that's stupid.
Yep. Yeah.
And you rightfully should have been fined what you got fined because they're finding you to teach you a lesson you're obviously not willing to learn.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it just dumbfounds me that
a lot of these guys feel they're entitled or above reproach.
Yeah, I mean now I can have sympathy for a guy, say like a Deshaun Goldson for the Buccaneers, who was fined damn near $500,000
and makes the league minimum.
Well, he doesn't make the league. No, he's making a lot of money. But his
fines
have totaled close to $500,000. But that's because he plays the game hard. Most of it's not been malicious. It's just been the way the new rules of the football. So it's not like he's been going out of his way to get fined because, it's like, look, I'm trying.
It's a hard transition.
Right.
You play for 15 years from a kid to an adult.
So I feel more for someone like that's just trying to, he's trying to play the rules the best he can. And in his situations, he's getting fined for headshot. Yeah. So, I mean, which aren't necessarily malicious, but someone, something like what Marshawn's doing, which is his blatant disregard.
I mean, every professional sport and every league has their prima donnas.
Well, it's not even just, but it's also selfish to his own team because that 15-yard penalty can come back and cost you. Now, if you're only going to do it when you're running up the score and stuff like that, that's different. But it wasn't the case in this.
There's definitely a difference from having an emotion in a game being an outright, pardon my French, a dick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I mean,
I have no respect for them.
I mean, I don't know I don't really know how I feel about him doing what he does. I don't know what my position is. I don't really think much of it. Would I want my daughter seeing something like that? Maybe, probably not.
I mean, personally,
I don't know.
Would. If I had kids, no, I'm like, I don't want my kids seeing that. I mean, like,
Daddy, what's he doing?
Because what happens? Kids mimic what they see on TV, regardless if it's sports, cartoons, movies. They are going to mimic what they observe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for celebrations and dances and all the whatnot you want to do on it, but
and it's not just sports.
But when you do something like like that, that's all right. Look, find something different to do. I'm not a prude personally. It doesn't offend me, but I also like you said,
we're old enough and wise enough to look past it.
Right, we know it. But little kids, they don't know any better. And the last thing I want is my daughter, or if I had a son, my son going to school and starting grabbing himself like that and thinking, not knowing really what he's doing.
Or like, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Exactly.
I appreciate it. I mean, come on.
So, I don't know. It is what it is. But listen, we've rambled on this a long time. had to get it out there. I'm going to be obviously I'll be posting this out on our webpage for everybody to see, and we'll let you listen to it. If you're not listening live, if you're listening to it on tape broadcast, if you have any comments or anything on this, feel free to post them on our Facebook page, and we'll definitely respond accordingly.
Hopefully I wasn't too bad of a host today.
No,
Hopefully Zach likes it.
Yeah,
for once
no,
I'm actually more
did
vocal than normal.
Exactly. No, you did fine. We'll have you on again. But that's our rant for today, and appreciate y'all tuning in if you're listening. And remember, next week will be our big football show. We'll be promoting that this week. If you got time,
Are you gonna do it on Super Bowl Sunday?
We haven't. That's a good question.
I think you should. I mean, I'll be able to join in on that one.
Right. Yeah, we're going to probably do it. Try to shoot for Sunday because it is the day of the Super Bowl.
I mean, kickoffs at 6:30. Be a nice start.
Yeah. So we'll get that all sorted out. I got to get Zach's schedule out. So I would say right now we're shooting for Sunday, probably early, maybe 11 o'clock or so on Sunday morning. We'll just have to see how it plays out, but stay tuned. We will post it on our Facebook page, but it is our big Super Bowl show. We're going to try to try to get a couple guests on here. Former NFL quarterback Jeff Carlson, played for the Buccaneers. He's a friend of the show, and maybe another quarterback that we have out there. I won't mention too much. But we have some guests coming up, so it could be a good, fun show next week. And we'll break down. We're going to break down the game next week. And start talking about that and anything else that happens to come up this week in sports. So, as always, appreciate you tuning in, checking us out. For the Gingerbread Man, a.k.a. Tomato Slinger over here, I want to say thank you as well. And as always, 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show coming at you live. Everybody, take care now.